All right, good afternoon, everyone. Nicole Christine here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I am on the corner of US 41 and Spring Hill Road, so it is a little loud. There's a lot of traffic. But what's important, I'm going to turn around the camera so you can see what's going on here. So we have a gathering of protesters here. They are along the roadway. And so far, it is exclusively people who are against the death penalty, which we predicted. This was something that was organized by the Death Penalty Action Group, Sisters of Providence, some of those other local groups that we've been seeing being very vocal about the upcoming executions. And so this is a group of them. And I'm going to move in a little closer so you guys can see some of the signs that they've got. All right, and just a little bit of information that we've received. I know a lot of people watched Dana's Facebook Live earlier about her being chosen to witness as a member of the media the execution later today that has been delayed as of right now, but they are still going into a van. The media is, those who have been chosen, Dana among them, are still headed to the execution chamber. They might be there already. Last I checked, they were on their way. And keep in mind that we're less than an hour now from 4 o'clock when Daniel Lewis Lee was scheduled to be executed. So they are still kind of going as business as usual, preparing in case that the appeal moves forward. Sorry, it's a little loud here. But yeah, so there's a group again. I'm gonna, for those of you tuning in right now, we have this group along the highway. And we mentioned earlier in the noon show, if you guys tuned in, Taylor Johnson was live from within the perimeter outside of the prison, and what she told us is some of these people who are out here now, they wanted to be more visible. They wanted to be out on one of the busiest roads, which, as you can tell from the background, is very true. It's definitely very crowded, a lot of eyes on these people, and they also wanted to be able to keep their phones, so they ended up coming this direction. But this was actually something that a lot of people had planned to do anyways, for that reason of being visible, making sure that people really got their message. People here locally saw what they were arguing for, and their argument is that this man and all the men that are set to be executed, that should not happen to them, that the killing is not justified, and that they would rather see someone given a life sentence. The same kind of things that we've been hearing from the family members of Daniel Lewis Lee's victims and other people that we've done stories on in the past. So yet again, for those of you tuning in now, I'm going to turn this around and show you some of these. You might recognize that man right there, Sylvester Edwards. He's our president of our local NAACP chapter. We have some other familiar faces, but you might not recognize them. They've got their masks on. They're socially distancing, doing a great job of being set up here, but being aware of the fact that we are still in the middle of the pandemic and there needs to be, guidelines in place. So they've done a good job of doing that here. But there are several local leaders here that have been vocal before and are continuing to be vocal on this day. And even though there was a delay announced earlier, they're going on protesting. They said they were sorry about that. They said they were going to come out here and be out here regardless, and here they are. So there's several people here, I'd say right around 20 protesters or so. They've got their No More Killing shirts. Execution is not the solution. Abolish the death penalty. Some of these might be a little harder to read, but they have various signs here. And one of the signs that I noticed earlier, it's kind of hard to see because they're right up against the road, but it said, "We honor the victims, but not with killing." So that's another message that they are putting forward. Another message, you might have seen our story this morning about the family of Daniel Lewis Lee's victims and what that grandmother wanted to have happen, which is not the execution. She was hoping for a life sentence, and she was very vocal about that in the stories that we ran with her. And what happened last night, Sunday night, to give you a little bit of a background, is an Indiana appeals court ended up actually saying, nope, this can go through. That was, of course, before the U.S. district judge decided to delay it again today. So it's been a lot of back and forth. But going back to the family, so this morning you might have seen a story where the person who was against the family delaying this, I know it's kind of confusing, said that their request was frivolous. That was a word that they used. So you might be able to see over here, I'll try to get a little closer, but there's a person over here that says victims' families are not frivolous. So that is right there is a direct reference to this family from Arkansas, their desires to not have the man who murdered their loved ones die today or die in the future, but to see him given another chance at life. So regardless of your beliefs on this topic, I know this is a pretty heated debate for a lot of people. This is what we have going on in downtown Terre Haute right now, or rather the south side of Terre Haute. And there are several people here from several different groups. Now, I will tell you that there was a station that was supposed to be set up. People were supposed to be bussed in from Voorhees Park and the softball complex. And I know that was, I don't think we ever got an official cancellation, but I know that Taylor Johnson from our team tweeted out that there wasn't anyone there. So as of right now, it seems like this is the gathering that's happening. Obviously, I haven't been on social media other than to do this in a little bit, so that could have changed. But as of right now, this seems to be the main gathering. So I am not aware of any gathering right now that is happening for pro-death penalty. I'm not aware of that right now, but this is an anti-death penalty gathering. Turn it around here. We keep getting some more people showing up. You can see the crowd gets a little bit bigger. There's several media members like ourselves out here. This is a huge story nationwide, as I'm sure you guys are all aware, and we're all kind of waiting right now to see what happens. Some more information that I got. I mentioned earlier Dana Winklepleck, our very own Dana, will be on her way, if not already, to the execution chamber right now. They still are moving forward with that, even though this has not officially been resumed, the execution. We're now within, 45 minutes, if that, to when this is supposed to be happening. Now, I know that we don't have any official word on what it would mean if it doesn't happen at 4, but we are getting pretty close to that deadline of when this was going to happen, and now it's been delayed, and we're all kind of at a standstill. But again, this group of people that you see here decided that whether or not this ended up happening, they were going to make their way out to US 41 and Spring Hill Road, very populated area of travel, as you can see. And we're getting pretty close to rush hour within a couple hours. So it's only going to get more crowded. Now, I haven't asked anyone here yet how long they plan to be out here, but my guess would be that they're going to be out here until we have final word as to what's going to happen today. I'd love to answer some questions. I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of comments here to sift through. Does anyone have any questions for me that they would like to have answered? Angela, I see you said this was supposed to be postponed. So there was a delay today. A U.S. district judge delayed this, but there have been appeals put into place. The family of the victim put in an emergency appeal that we got word of this afternoon to the Supreme Court, which they said they were going to. But now we don't know what's exactly happening. We are all kind of at a standstill, and this is what this group of people has chosen to do with their time while they wait to find out what is going on. So we don't have any confirmation on whether or not this is going to go through at this time. But we do know that there is an active protest out here, very peaceful. There's really no chanting going on, nothing. It's pretty silent. It's basically just a little bit of conversation between the protesters. And then, as you can see, there are several signs, several shirts, several small groups of people, but there's being water handed out. Thankfully, it's not as muggy as it was last week. It's actually a pretty nice day out here. I saw a question, are there any pro-death protesters? Now, there are no people here that are for the death penalty from all the signs I can see. I do believe that there was a lot of conversation about making sure that the two groups were separated. We've seen a lot of protesting going on within our country, and I don't think that there's any particular reason why they separated them other than just to kind of keep things under control. They didn't expect anything to get out of hand, but I think that they just wanted, our local law enforcement wanted to make sure that the two opposing sides had their own place to protest. And this was something that I believe was organized by the Death Penalty Action Group, along with Sisters of Providence and some of these other groups. Sorry about that. We have some loud trucks here. But this was definitely something that was organized for an anti-death penalty group. So I do know that this is a group of people who, as you can see from their shirts and from their signs, they are anti-death penalty. So again, we've been talking a lot about some protests throughout our country over the last few weeks, and here's one right before our eyes. This, of course, is a anti-death penalty protest, and yet again, anyone wondering, we are still waiting to find out what's going to happen with Daniel Lee Lewis. It's been a long day of back and forth, a long weekend actually, of different stays and delays and then resumptions of the execution, and now it's just kind of a waiting game. So I think that is all I have for now. I'm going to be sure to hop back on here if anything happens or if we feel like we need to get back on here. For now, we're going to speak to some organizers. We'll have a wrap package for you, a wrap story in the 11 o'clock, plus plenty of coverage in the 5 and the 6. And as well as online. We have a huge presence on our website, mywabashvalley.com, so be sure to stay up to date with that. And be sure to follow us on Twitter. Of course, you're following us on Facebook. That's what brought you here. And I do know that we should know at some point today whether or not this is going to happen today, because we have to. So bear with us and stay tuned for all of your updates. And one final thing before I go, I see this Veronica Hammond, thanks for asking who's facing the death penalty that they're protesting against. His name is Daniel Lewis Lee. He's out of Oklahoma, but he committed a crime in the 90s and was convicted of murdering a family, including an 8-year-old daughter. So he is the person who was scheduled to be executed today, the first in 17 years at the Terre Haute Federal Penitentiary. So that's what they're protesting right now, is specifically his impending execution, that we're not sure when it's going to happen or what the status of it is going to be. But they're also protesting in a larger sense the other 3 men who are sentenced to be executed this summer in Terre Haute, and also all the other people who are facing the death penalty. So I'll give you one last look here at the scene of this protest. Plenty of signs, plenty of shirts, and like I said before, about 20 protesters or so sitting here on the corner of one of the busiest roads in our area, getting a lot of attention from the passing cars and sharing their message. So thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, please follow along on our website and online, and be sure to tune in at 5 and 6. We will have plenty of coverage the rest of the day. And depending on what happens today, we will probably see you for coverage of the following executions whenever they happen. And we will continue to provide you the updates that you're looking for and the information you're looking for. So yeah, just follow along with us and we'll continue to update you. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. We'll try to answer those as best we can online, and we'll continue to provide the information as we find out about it. Thank you so much.